Trying a quick little bonefish fly today. This is a fly called the pink puff. It's actually, I think, just called the puff, but I've always known it as a pink puff because it's pink. Looking around, doing a little bit of research, a lot of people will just call it the puff fly. So I'm going to refer to it as a pink puff because it's pink. It's a very, very simple bonefish fly, not much to it if you're getting into fishing for any bonefish. It's a very, very basic and simple one to get started with. Very, very productive. Always good to have some of these in your fly box. Pretty good little warm water fly also if you want to target some panfish with this. That's the pink puff. I'll get started tying. I'm going to begin the pink puff with my hook in the vise. This is a Tiemco 811S. It's just a typical saltwater shrimp hook. Debarb the hook. It's up to you. The eyes you can do on the pink puff can be a solid dumbbell eye if you want, or you could do a bead chain, which is what I'm going to do. For thread, I'm using a uni thread. This is a 3/0 in a light pink. It's kind of a shrimp pink. I'm going to attach my thread just behind the eye a little bit. Secure it. So I've got about an eye length behind the eye here, and that's where I'm going to tie in the dumbbell eyes. I'm using a medium silver bead chain eye for this. Bead chain is typical what's used. The pink puff is more of a lighter shrimp pattern in the sense that it doesn't have a huge profile. It doesn't have a big splash, a lot of noise. It tends to be a smaller, a little bit lighter pattern. But like I said, you could use just a silver dumbbell eye or even a gold, depending on the color combination you want to do, and use something that has a little bit more weight to it just to help get it down a little bit quicker. If you happen to be fishing in a little deeper water, you can also tie this in a larger size if you want. This is a size 4 shrimp hook. No, I take that back. This is a size 6 Tiemco 811S. A little bit small. Depending on where you're fishing, such as down in Mexico around Ascension Bay, the 6s and 8s do much better. But my experience is in the Bahamas, in that area, actually 4s and 2s do very, very well. So it's really up to you. So once the eyes are secured, I'm going to use some kip tail. This is just some white kip tail. Again, depends on the color combination you want to go with on this. You could use a different color, the chartreuse or a tan. I'm going to flip the hook over and I'm going to tie this in. I want the kip tail to extend maybe about a half a shank length beyond the bend of the hook. Remember, you're going to tie this in behind the eyes, which means if you measure this, say from the front, just behind the eye of the hook, it's going to be even further back. It does not have to be all that long. I'm going to secure that down just behind the bead chain eyes. I did put some head cement on there to try and help those bead chain eyes from rotating like that, and that will put a couple crisscross wraps tightening that down just a little bit. This particular uni thread's got a little bit of stretch to it. And you're not going to wrap very far down the hook shank here. most everything is tied in just right behind the bead chain eyes, so that back behind here, everything just kind of flows around a little bit better. I'm going to put a little flash in here. This is just some crystal flash. You don't have to put in any flash if you don't want to. I'm going to take about 3 strands of this crystal flash. I'm going to tie it over on my side here, a wrap or 2 in, securing that, and then I'm going to bring this over to the other side, and that will secure it down. I'm going to trim this so that it's going to be about the length of the kip tail, maybe a little bit longer, just a hair longer. And as I said, you don't have to put any flash in there if you don't want to. Sometimes flash can kind of annoy the fish, and they turn off from a fly, which is funny because I've seen them where they love a certain pattern with some flash in it, but then some days you go out there with it and they don't like it. The next step is to put in some claws on this, and these are just kind of, remember this is a shrimp pattern, so you're wanting to kind of mimic some of those aspects of a shrimp. And for this, I'm just using, this is just an inexpensive dry fly neck Grizzly. I'm going to pick out a couple of them that are, they're fairly dense. I like them to be a little bit more dense so that you have a little bit more contrast to it. You can get some sparse, thin pointed ones if that's what you want to use. I'm going to use the tips here. Ultimately, I'm going to tie these in on both sides, so I'm not as concerned about them being concaved and flat at this point. I do want to get the tips together because I just want to size these. I want these to go back about the same length as the kip tail here, and they're going to be tied in right behind the bead chain eyes. So they're not super long by any means. I'm going to pull some of these barbs off of here so that I have just a little bit down here, and that will allow me to zero in on the right length. That's right about what I want. I want it to be just about the length of the kip tail. Now you can tie both of these on top. Some people will take these and they'll offset them a little bit, kind of like this, and they'll split them right up here and just move those in and tie them in. I find it's easiest for me just to go ahead and tie one in at a time because I want these kind of on the side, not necessarily solely up on top. I like these to have a bit of a side profile to them because I think that's where the fish are going to see them when you have this fly that is fleeing them. So if they're just on top, they may come together and they may not really see it that well. That one slipped to the side a little bit more than I wanted. Take your time with it. Get it where you want. Yeah, that's more what I want. I want it kind of on the side, but at the same time, a little bit on the top. So the last step with the pink puff is to put in the pink head on this. I'm using a light shrimp pink. This is a Wapsi Ultra Chenille. It's a fluorescent nylon chenille. I've always known this fly is called the pink puff, and I think primarily because it's pink. However, in doing a little bit of research in the history of this and trying to find some information on it, a lot of people will refer to it just as a puff because you can tie this in other colors. You want to do a tan, if you want to do a chartreuse or something like that, or a brighter pink, you can. I'm going to expose some of the core off the end of that, and I'm going to lash that down right behind the bead chain eyes, tying that in real nice and tight. Bring my thread forward. I like to throw in a little bit more head cement. Just so that it has a little something to grip it and hold on to it. I'm going to tie this in. I want to cover up any thread wraps. I usually get one wrap back there, one right against the bead chain eyes, and then I start crisscrossing. I'm going to go one across, underneath, around back. I'm going to come around the other side, pulling tight because I want this to actually kind of pop down around that eye, and then bringing that underneath. And then I will tie that off right up front. If you've left enough room in front of the bead chain eyes and behind the eye of the hook, you could put a wrap right in front there. I generally don't, because I fill that up with some thread wraps for the head of the puff. I have tied these, like I said, with a bright pink thread, or fluorescent red. And I have tied some of these in chartreuse as well. Four or five turn whip finish, trim away my thread. Some head cement soak down into those thread wraps, and the pink puff is complete. It's just a real quick, easy bonefish pattern, very, very well known and popular bonefish pattern. At the same time, this is a fly that you could tie up if you are interested in tying it and fishing it, but aren't going to be going for any bonefish, but you've got panfish around you. By all means, tie some up. This would be a great little panfish fly. Again, chartreuse, some yellows would be good. Possibly even a little bit of blue would be good. I think it would also be an early white bass, a good white bass fly for white bass in the spring. I'd add some weight to it, maybe some weighted dumbbell eyes instead of just the bead chain, so that it could get down a foot or so in the water. But that is the pink puff, a great little bonefish fly. All around, nice, versatile, fun fly to tie. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com, where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. And what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.